There it is. What is going on, everybody? I hope everyone is having a tremendous Thursday. I'm talking to you with some news regarding the Sixers. As you all know, had to deal with the unfortunate ending of yesterday's game between the Sixers and the Clippers, and I just feel like we will get to that. But starting off the episode today with the news or makeshift news that we get, the tease, one might say, from the Sixers Twitter account, the admin of their official Twitter account, and it is the thumbnail of this video. So they posted first a GIF of Embiid, or a GIF, however you want to say it, of Embiid eating, I believe it's an apple or something, and that's been around for a bit, and everyone's like, hey ho, what's that about, you know? And then the next thing they post is a picture of him at practice on the court, and we now know a little bit more about kind of what he's been doing, that he plans to join the team on their upcoming road trip, and kind of where he might be targeting his return date. I mean, we're getting low on the amount of games that he has to ramp up before the play-in or playoffs. And with the Sixers currently in the seventh seed, we might need any win we can get, which is also why last night's loss was so heartbreaking. But yeah, so I think obviously you want Embiid to come back when he feels like he is ready to play and not have a risk of injuring it again, for him to feel like he's as close to 100%, or when he feels like the total amount of games he can put under his belt, and in order to, or the least amount of games he needs to get back to 100% before the playoffs. So I think that's just kind of what we are looking at as a reality right now. But since he is going on the trip, the road trip, you got to wonder whether that means he is starting to ramp up the training process, maybe practicing 4-on-4, 5-on-5, and maybe he's targeting. I don't think either of the next two games being his target date, but I do think the games after that, whether it be Oklahoma City, and I think that will give him about 6 games to ramp up. Let me just check the schedule about. Yeah, so they play the Raptors on Saturday, and then, or on Sunday, and then they play the Thunder on Tuesday. So I do think Tuesday will be a likely return date if it does progress that point. And I think it's just a little bit annoying, honestly, that the team is doing it this way. They have been very secretive about his injury from the get-go, and you can come to your own opinion on whether or not you think this is the right strategy for them to use in terms of putting out updates and statements about how his journey and progress has been going. I mean, even just this picture doesn't show that much about what he's even doing, just the fact that he is on the court. And as Nick Nurse said yesterday, that he believes he will likely be back pretty soon and before the playoffs. I do think that means that Embiid wants to be back and does believe he can be back before the playoffs. But they also play the Heat, which is a very important game in Miami later next week. I believe that's next Thursday. So since that is such an important seeding game, you kind of want him to be back for that at least. And maybe that will be his first game back. Either way, we're going to need him sooner rather than later, especially if games are going to be officiated like they were yesterday. So let's get into that. Let's get into yesterday's game. So the Sixers lost by 1 point, 108-107 to the Los Angeles Clippers. They just beat them last week, 121-107 in LA. So, home and home kind of deal. It was a hilarious outcome, although very heartbreaking. That Kelly Oubre rant will forever be famous in the city. The refs calling 2-and-1s for Kawhi Leonard in consecutive plays that was less contact than the amount of contact Paul George had on Kelly Oubre's final drive. In the moment, I will say I was more so worried about him getting a shot off. Maybe a shot at the basket would have been nice, but I do totally understand the fact that Paul George kind of jumped right into him and there was no call. I understand that being frustrating, especially when they were calling any contact for Kawhi Leonard on the other side and kind of just handing the game to the Clippers in that last minute. And without Buddy Hield's crazy three from like 10 feet behind the arc, I wouldn't have even gotten to that point. But, you know, with the Sixers without Embiid right now, it's kind of hard for you to even want them to try to be better. And obviously, you want them to be better in these fourth quarters and hold the lead, obviously. But, you gotta give them the benefit of the doubt one way or another. Maxey played an absurd amount of minutes. I believe it was 43, 44 minutes. This was the book on Nick Nurse. Obviously, the offense is a lot more dynamic and there's more movement compared to Doc Rivers' offense. But the downside is that he does play his stars a ton of minutes, and we see Joel hurt and Maxey playing 43 minutes and slipping in the last minute to give the Clippers an easy layup, which, counts all the same and in a 1-point loss. So Maxey finished 26 points, shot 9 of 20. Pretty good game. I do think, he was probably a little bit tired at the end of that one. So I'll give him a little bit of a break in terms of that slip. That Buddy Hield 3 was massive. It was a pretty good Buddy Hield game, but it was the most surprising was Mo Bamba's performance, scoring 12 points and 11 rebounds and really just kind of being everywhere on the floor. And, I think Mo Bamba will not have as much playing time, obviously, when Joel comes back, and I think that's a good thing. But I think generally overall he's playing above the standard than people thought he was going to be playing at. And I think that just kind of, for these veteran minimum signings, you kind of have to tip your hat to Daryl in this one and just kind of be like, yeah, backup center's been backup center for us, but Mo Bamba's been pretty good this last stretch. So that was refreshing to watch. It was nice to have Kyle Lowry back in the lineup. Who else do we got? And yeah, Kelly Oubre. I'm gonna miss Kelly Oubre. I'm gonna admit it, and I think it's pretty funny just how opinions can change just by him being on your team. I think coming into it, you hear the kind of dual-sided nature with him of he's going to score a bunch but also be a black hole. And I just think after the Clippers game and him putting up a nice assist total, I think he just feels a little bit more free to share the ball in Philly compared to Charlotte, whether that be him being on a more competitive team, who knows. But yeah, I think even that picture of Kelly Oubre saying, "You're a bitch, you're a bitch, you're a bitch," will be an internet meme for years to come. No doubt about that. I believe that 100%. It's pretty funny. Nico Batum always having a solid game, but I think now just with you sit back and the hope starts coming in back into your world when the Sixers social media team puts out that picture of Embiid, and it's crazy, but especially in basketball, it's pretty much fact that if your star player's out, you're just not going to have that good of a chance. And I think as Sixers fans, we might have been a little bit spoiled by always having that kind of second offensive star with Harden. But now that he's not here, I think like Maxey, although he can put up the numbers, the offense is never going to run through him, and he's getting blitzed more, which he has shown signs of kind of attacking the blitzes in different ways and passing out of it, making the right read, or just hitting a three right in their face, which I personally enjoy. But I am curious about what you guys think if Embiid does come back and whether or not it will make a difference in the play-in whether or not he will be close to 100%. I think, although the Sixers have been on a little bit of a slide, you got to remember just how well Embiid was playing before he got hurt. I mean, I was at that 70-point game. That I've never seen anything like that. So that's still kind of welded into my mind, if you might say, that that performance. And Tobias still kind of not performing to the contract, but at this point, I can't add anything to the Tobias Harris discussion that has not already been said. I think it's very interesting that the Sixers have been able to defend Kawhi Leonard like better than I've ever seen them able to. That dude gives me nightmares, as I'm sure he gives you guys nightmares. So he finished 7 of 19 on the night, and he was like 5 of 16 for a good portion until making his last few shots. Finished with 17 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. And I don't know. I think Harden obviously getting booed the entire game, only finishing with 16. It's just weird how the Sixers are able to defend their stars so well, but they're still kind of just giving up threes at a ridiculous rate. And the Clippers, by blitzing Maxey and then switching everything else behind that, they're just a little bit of a different defensive team that I think the Sixers, can put up decent numbers against. If only they were in our conference, honestly. But yeah, I honestly don't think the Clippers are anything that special going into the playoffs. They look a little bit slow, which is no surprise, but I don't know how much I like switching everything right now in this iteration of the NBA. I think Jokic will pick them apart if they try to do that against them. And I don't know, it all comes down to matchups, but I do think they are a volatile team in the Western Conference. I don't know, and I also don't. I'm very, very indifferent about Paul George signing here in the offseason. I think the skill set, the talent, obviously it's a perfect fit, would all be pluses, but the age, man, he'll be 35 before the first playoff run he could have with the Sixers if we do sign him next offseason, and that just kind of hits me a different way. I don't think I necessarily like the feeling of that, the sound of that. But if Embiid wants it, who am I? So I don't know. Obviously, if he does sign, I will be very much aboard and I'll go down with the ship. But just the age makes me feel a little bit weary for someone that we would be paying that much for. Speaking of paying that much for, I'm very curious to see how much Kelly Oubre gets signed for in the offseason now that he has been playing and making his name known in the news. I think his press conference after the game was very sound and very mature of him. Obviously, still probably frustrated at the refs, but to kind of man up for it that quickly is always a good thing and kind of is a sign of the locker room being intact and maybe coach getting to him before he got to the mic. And, coach has every right to be mad at the refs too, considering they come out after the game and saying they missed that call on Paul George at the end of the game. But I do think Kelly would make around the 10 mil mark if he keeps playing like this. But if he has a really good playoff run and is like the Caleb Martin, I mean, please, anything to make him the Caleb Martin of last year, he'll make probably a little bit more than 10 mil, but somewhere in that ballpark, 10 to 15, if he goes to a team that will pay him that much. Probably not as good of a team, though. But I think that is about it. The Sixers have a matchup against the Cavaliers on Sunday. So I don't know. I think the Cavs are also a little bit shaky without Donovan Mitchell for that long stretch. I think, any win the Sixers can pull out without Embiid, but if Embiid's going to be traveling on this road trip, who knows when he'll return? And I think the hope is starting to feed back into the Sixers fans a little bit, and that's the most exciting. Even if we can just get out of the play-in and get a 6 seed and play whoever ends up the 3 seed, I would give the Sixers a pretty good chance about either the Bucks or the Cavs, definitely against the Cavs. So I think that is going to just about do it for me. Let me know what you guys want me to talk about next, especially when Embiid comes back, and I'm more than happy to look through those and touch on those in the next live stream. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out the libertyballers.com website for all our written coverage by all of our very, very talented writers. I am Drew, and I will catch you guys in the next one.